fun.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to the latest episode of Frameshift Live.
What episode is it, Bruce?
18, I think. Are you sure?
Hey, I'm just here for the ride. You tell me. Is it 18? Welcome to the show, everyone.
Yes, we think this is the 18th edition of the official Fortnightly Elite Dangerous live stream. I am your host, community manager Bruce Garrido, and I'm joined this week by the ever helpful lead community manager Arthur Tolmie. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm doing fine, thank you. I'm dripping water out my out my beard, so it's a good start. No, I'm good. It's great to be back. Great to be back in another station at a bar this time, Bruce. So
yeah, very
happy to be at a bar. Yeah, it's been very busy. I think last time I was on was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, maybe. I know you and Sally did one.
Sally and I were on a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was you and Sally before that. So it's actually been almost a couple of months since you and I have appeared together.
Oh, it's been so good.
You've been enjoying the break.
I've been enjoying the break. No, it's been great. It's great to have you back to stream with you. I'm looking forward to this. We've got a fun show. I know you did an interview with Tom.
That's right.
Super nice guy, Tom. Deepest voice in the universe, Tom. But I'm really excited. I haven't actually seen the interview, so I'm looking forward to it.
I had a really nice chat with Tom. So for anyone who hasn't seen Tom before, he's one of our senior designers, and we're going to have a little chat with him later on. It was a pre-recorded interview just for scheduling reasons. We couldn't have him live, unfortunately, but it was a really great conversation. Hopefully you'll enjoy that, and that's to come later. Yep. Before then, should we say hello to some of the people? We've got loads of people in stream.
I saw Aramis, I saw Osric, Heather G, all the mods, thank you very, as always, Full Harbour, Obi Jeff, English Gent, Micro 99, Boggimus Prime, oh dear.
Flying by now.
There's a lot of people in here. Epheus, Patient Wild, Greybeard, the Cax, Young Exeno, Psychic, Wolf Garina, Royal Lizards. You can have a few.
You've got a few thousand to go, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying. Cuttlefish, Jason. It's going on, mate.
There are a lot of you in chat. Thank you to everyone who's appeared today. Good to see you. I think one thing I suppose we should address is the fact we're streaming on Wednesday today. It's a bit unusual for us. Normally we're on Thursdays, but we've had to make way a little bit today just for the Stranded Alien Dawn stream. So if you've come over from that, thank you for watching. And if you haven't seen that, we'd encourage you to check it out. It's a game that we've launched, and the other CMs have done a great job.
And also tomorrow there's another stream from one of our teams. I'm not sure if it's been announced what it is yet, but you want to tune in for it. If it's another Frontier title, it's very popular. So tune in tomorrow. There will be a Frontier stream. Not elite, but it's equally cool. So have a little look-see tomorrow.
Absolutely. So for today's show then, I'll go through the Twitch drop situation because things have changed a little bit. We're now in the autumn season for
it's not
Twitch
autumn,
drops.
It's spooky season. It's October, Bruce. It's the spoopy month. No, just me. I get quite excited about seasonal stuff.
Well, there's going to be Halloween stuff, for sure, but autumn's going to expand beyond October. So for the next 2 months, in fact, we're going to have bespoke paint jobs on up for grabs, in fact, from Twitch drops. So obviously we've got the usual purple ones. I'll rattle through these fairly quickly.
Don't touch that laptop,
Don't
Bruce.
touch the laptop.
I just saw it. Adam just started to twitch. Don't touch that laptop.
And purple Twitch drops. The situation here is every 28 days we rotate the same set of Twitch drops, so they're always available. And basically, you can consider them a welcome pack for anyone who hasn't been on the streams or seen us before. Basically, after the first 15 minutes, you'll get the first one, and then every 15 minutes thereafter. No, that's not even close to true.
One show. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do this one show, and I'll be proud of you. Not today.
I did nail it one time.
Once, yeah, but we need consistency. We're looking for. We can do it. It's even written. It's there. It's literally right in front of you.
Actually, doesn't make it easier somehow. Anyway, basically, every 15 minutes. No, it's not every 15 minutes.
You can do it line by line.
All right. We have a set. It's the purple welcome pack Twitch drop set. You can earn it by connecting your Twitch and Frontier accounts, and I'll explain how to do that in a little bit. And then just by watching the official streams, you'll start to earn the following rewards. After 15 minutes, the first one is the Ancestral Tattoo Pack, what makes your face look different. After 30 minutes, you get the purple flight suit, you know, the tight, rubbery purple, you know what it looks like. After an hour, you get the purple SRV and fighter colors. An hour and 30 minutes gets you the purple weapon and engine colors, and then at 2 hours, you get the vibrant purple paint jobs. That's your lot.
I'm not going to lie, Bruce. I've been on hiking trips that have been less stressful and to get through than that was.
It's
You
a
got
roller
there
coaster.
in the end. You got there in the end. Essentially, watch for 120 minutes, get all the purple stuff across a month.
Yeah.
However, one thing that's important to note about the welcome pack is it's governed by the Twitch drop sort of scheme. So it lasts for 28 days. At 28 days, it has to reset. That's not us resetting it. It's literally how the mechanism works. So if, unfortunately, you start watching the last stream of that 28 days, so like, I don't know, the next stream, and you're only getting an hour in, you will only get 60 minutes worth, which will get you up to the purple SRV and fighter colours, purple suit and ancestral tattoo pack. You won't get the weapon and engine colours because you won't get that final 90 minutes, but you will be able to start again next month. So
yeah, for sure. They won't go away or anything, but if you were unlucky and got caught out that way, you just have to watch 2 hours to earn your way back up to the top.
It's easy because by the time you finish explaining Twitch drops, you've done 3 hours of Twitch anyway, so
Pretty
it's
much.
fine. It's easy.
In addition to those, we've also got the seasonal paint jobs that I mentioned earlier, and these rotate every season. And we're now in autumn, so we've actually got 2 that we're going to be giving away every show between now and the end of the autumn season, like I say, which is going to be at the end of November. So today's stream is going to have 2 of these, as well as the next 3 streams. So we're doubling up. I think the first one you'll get after the first 15 minutes, and the second one after half an hour. And I think we've got an image of the topaz and sapphire paint jobs.
Nice. These are nice.
These
I
are
like
pretty
these.
cool.
Yeah, I like these.
So there you go, nice and autumnal. We've got the sapphire was the first one, sort of the bluish one, and then the second one we've got the topaz. There you go. We hope you enjoy these variants. Like I say, 15 minutes for the first one and then 30 minutes for the second. I can't remember off the top of my head which way around we put them, sorry. But yeah, if you watch half an hour of this show, you'll get them.
Yeah. I mean, you're already, 20 minutes in, so it's not hard.
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
halfway there at least.
For sure.
And we've just explained how to get them, which is great. So fantastic. But nice, we're giving away 2 each show, so thank you. And again, I say it all the time, Bruce, but thanks for organising some of this stuff. I'm not sure if we're showing off any of the, the spooky ones. Are we showing them off?
Spooky ones,
No?
we'll have to keep a surprise.
All right.
That we don't mention. They're super secret.
Won't mention the spooky ones, we're not showing
no
off,
one can
right.
know about
Good.
those yet.
Right, won't
It's
mention
actually
those
really
ones.
vital that
I
they
don't bring
don't
up
get
that we're
spoiled.
going to be giving away on the Halloween stream. Right,
Indeed.
fine. I won't do that.
What we do have, though, at this very moment, if not shortly after the stream, are the other variants of the autumn ones, which will be going live on the store for purchase, and I think we can show those off as well. We actually have the amber, carnelian, and garnet versions of the same paint job that I just mentioned.
Carnelian? I have never, ever heard of that. I'm assuming it's a type of stone, right? Because these are all stones.
That's right, yeah, these are all sort of semi-precious
What is carnelian?
gems. Do you want to see a carnelian?
Is that? That's got to be.
Probably find a
That's got to
carnelian
be. Well, that's got to be garnet, right? Because it's red.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Well, I
a
don't know,
carnelian
maybe
is
it's
kind of reddish
maybe
as well.
that's, Maybe that's carnelian. No, that's got to be.
So there you go.
Well, I'm at loss, chat. I'm at a loss. It's not that one. Can't be that one. That's definitely amber. That's definitely amber.
But yes, hopefully you enjoy these, chat. Like I say, these are all available on the store, not just for the Anaconda. So there are paint jobs for the Anaconda, Asp Explorer, Cobra Mark III, and the Python that will be...
And the python.
The Python.
The python. The python.
The
python.
Yeah, so those are all on the store, and like I say, the other ones which are giving away as Twitch drops will be available over the coming weeks in future shows.
Touch that laptop.
Cool. So, like I say, if you want to claim those, you need to be watching the official Frontier live streams like you are right now, either on the Frontier channel or the Elite Dangerous channels here on Twitch. And you're also going to have to make sure your Frontier and Twitch accounts are connected. You can do that over at twitch.frontierstore.net/elite.
Rolls off the tongue.
It does.
It's super easy to do.
Yeah, not at all difficult to
Nailed it.
get it right.
But yeah, that's cool. So you get the Switch drops. Make sure you're claiming them. But we've got loads to give away and more stuff to come. So I'm in a bit of a hyper mood today. I've had a really, really good day today. Seen some really cool things that I can't talk about. But it's all for you.
There
so
is
don't
actually
worry.
loads of
Don't
really
worry.
cool
It's
stuff
been a
coming.
really cool day today. So yeah.
Paint jobs are just one of those things, but we actually do have a load of paint jobs that are going to be available. Like I say, we're doubling up on this season's, and there's going to be additional stuff to get in various ways as well. So much to look forward to on that front. All right, should we talk a little bit about what's happening in game at the moment then?
We should. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure thing. So last week we had the Aisling Duval charity event community goal, which ended. Obviously, Princess Aisling wanted to throw a little party and needed some supplies, which many of you very graciously delivered, and others protected those deliveries with the combat side of the community goal. So congratulations to everyone who got involved and the paint jobs that they earned doing so. In fact, I think we have the list of the top contributors, and we would like to give those guys a shout out. So well done to everyone on this list. Do you want to thank some commanders?
Yeah, I'll go with the top list, shall I? Okay, so Alex, Zuno, Date There, Pluk Sky Trotter, which I'm a big fan of, Joe Jaffet, Miet11, Big Hefty, which could be my moniker, Flavio Nobrega, JR250, the 8th Division, and Icy Ricky. I nearly said Icky Ricky, but that's not correct. Icy Ricky. And support, do you want me to do the support ones, or are you going to...
Yeah, sure. So on the support side, we had Grimbon Gripper, Annie Satevis, Ian5353, Dago Toran, IF Noir, CMT Cannibalis, Tech Jin, Akret, Wards 31, and Dr. Sturban 1933. Well done to everyone who contributed, especially our top 10 who have won some extra awards for doing so.
Nice stuff.
The current CG, obviously we would normally conclude with the winners of the current CG, but we're on Wednesday today, so still a day to go.
Still a day to go. We'll
still
find
everything
a way
to play for.
To celebrate them next stream, so, but yes, we can't do it today, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Shall we read This Week in Galnet and head over to our news little segment?
We can. It is Super Cruise News.
All right. So,
I need to say this, right, just to be clear, I have some cool stings. I've mentioned this 77,000 times. We have them, we just need to now adjust them so they fit the actual graphic. It will happen. I swear to Baba G, it will happen. But just not today. Sorry. It's going to happen. Right.
Okay. Shall I kick things off?
You can.
Cool. So on the 26th of September, there was a federal crackdown on Thargoid worshippers. This actually...
Crackdown, right? A federal crackdown.
What did I say?
No, it wasn't that.
Can I say?
Carry on.
I don't know what I said. I'm going to move on. So, isn't that bad? There was a... this actually kicked off the community goal, which is currently ongoing. And I'm just going to read the piece. The federal government has declared the Order of the Far God to be a potential enemy of the state. You need to behave. You're putting me off.
I'm just saying.
The following press statement was delivered from the White House on Mars. The Federal Navy Intelligence Office has uncovered sufficient cause for concern to suspect the Fargod cult of treason. They are believed to be responsible for leaking classified audiovisual data from the HIP 22460 system while sharing other sensitive Thargoid-related material internally. Due to this, the risk that they will frustrate anti-Xeno operations is deemed considerable. So, like I say, this marked the beginning of the current CG, which represents the clash between the Federation and the Fargod cult.
Yes, people kind of split between the Fargod cult, and I say the Fargod cult. I think people are kind of like, it's less the cult, more give peace a chance rather than we think, you know, we support what the Fargod represents, sort of thing. But it's interesting. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it's been interesting to see. A lot of people just like the opportunity to stick it to any of the superpowers when they can.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But at the same time, we're not talking about the Fargod cult necessarily as a whole, but also it's the true chapters, right? The more radical extremists. Yeah. And it's been interesting to see how players have chosen to, well, who they've chosen to throw their lot in with. Indeed. So what comes next? So, did you scroll down? Oh, you've already scrolled down. So now I'm going to get his name wrong because I thought it was, is it Tesray? Tesray announces a bid to reform Aegis. So on the 28th of September 3308, and forgive me, I've got the name wrong. Media forum is being arranged that will officially propose reinstating the tri-superpower anti-Xeno agency. The event is being organised by Professor Alba Tesray, a former head of research at Aegis. She delivered a statement to all news feeds, which was, as the war against the Thargoids intensifies, the need for centralised xenological research is more vital than ever. This press conference will put forward a case to convince leaders in the Alliance, Empire and Federation to review the decision to dismantle Aegis, which obviously had a bit of a rough run with Salvation kind of making him look a bit bad with the Thargoids coming in and him wiping them out and Aegis not really having an effective answer towards it. It wasn't a great look for them at the time. They also don't have the best history either. It's not like it's their, you know. But I'm actually especially now that Salvation is out of the picture, I'm starting to see a bit more pro-Aegis commentary here and there, a few whispers, and people saying actually we need something to shield us from Thargoid issue. So yeah, interesting to see how that develops.
So I am looking at chat, by the way, so I missed what that means. Can we have some info on D, please? I don't know what that means. Is D a code word?
D. Starseed, let us know what you mean. Meanwhile, on the 29th of September, a Gannett article released entitled Delivery Campaign Helps Fund Imperial Charity, obviously related to the community goal. So, an initiative in the CMICE system procured sufficient rare items to ensure a successful Citizens Relief Trust Gala. The new charitable organisation will establish support centres for the relatives of Imperial citizens who have died as a result of Thargoid aggression. The Trust's patron, Princess Aisling Duval, made a declaration via public media. She went on to say, the quantity of issue umbrellas, Zihe biomorphic companions and Chateau de Aegion that we have received gladdened my heart. I am already preparing invitations for a splendid charity gala at my palace on Emerald, where these luxuries will be auctioned to raise capital for the Citizens Relief Trust.
Oh, okay. Oh,
not all bad then.
Not all bad. Can be okay. I'm laughing. I said I'm D2, a little bit like Spartacus. I'm Spartacus was going on there. Darren is in the chat. So hello, Darren. Thanks for tuning in. So what's next on the list? We have on the 29th of September, 3308, the Federal Forces target the true chapters. So this is the Pilots Federation. Conflict has erupted in Poponita. Sorry, there's a cursor away. As the Federation seeks to apprehend the true chapters, cultists of the Far God cult. The workers of Popontia, Free, which was sympathetic to the sect's right to practice its religion, was outfitting the decadent megaship for the chapter's use. Federal ships have been deployed in the Popontia system with the intention of detaining all cultists and seizing the megaship. So they've asked nicely, and now they're just going to take it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know, good guys, right? Good guys. Pop, 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 pop. There's a lot of P's. Yeah, I know. I struggle. It's like pick up a penguin. Decadent megaship.
Following on from that, on the same day, we had the Thargoid retreat from 3 different systems. So the conflicts in the 42N Persei, Chun Pindit, and Tekait Jal systems have ended with the withdrawal of Thargoid vessels. All 3 systems reported the simultaneous arrival of Thargoid forces on the 12th of September, following an expansion of their presence from HIP 22460. Unlike many previous incursions, however, no starports came under direct attack.
So we have some questions about some sort of virtual studio we're in, but we're clearly just sat at a bar in a station. We're not at Pioneer Supplies, and people are asking if our desk is green or blue. I have no idea what they're talking about. It's this kind of nice, solid.
Steel, aluminium.
I don't know what you want.
Whatever it is.
This is legit. We are on a space station. See?
Yeah.
Sorry. Next up, we have the militaries prepare for further Thargoid strikes. So, on the 30th of September, 3308, the prospect of more systems being invaded by Thargoids has placed the Alliance, Empire, and Federation on high alert. Ernesto Rios, field correspondent for Vox Galactica, summarised the situation. Following the Battle of HIP 22460, there was anticipation that the Thargoids would expand into neighbouring regions. Swarms of hostile vessels did indeed arrive in the 42N Persei, Chun Pindit, and systems. Although, in notable change of their former tactics, no starport suffered a direct attack. So it seems like the Thargoids are doing things differently at the moment. I mean, I'm not sure what players are experiencing. I'm seeing a lot of people noticing there's a lot of Thargoid stuff around. They're sort of behaving separately. They're a tad more aggressive. They're not really going away. Things seem to be happening. There might be something people are noticing in the distance that maybe... or maybe not a good or a bad thing, but who knows?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because on the 30th of September, we also had the FSS upgrade to track the anomalous signals, which I believe you were just alluding to. So this is a Pilots Federation alert to say that the full spectrum system scanners are being updated with the aim of discovering the nature of the interstellar anomalies. Cynthia Sideris, chairperson of Universal Cartographics, gave this statement to the press. The scientific community remains fascinated by phenomena that we have classified as rogue signal sources. At present, we can calculate their approximate direction and velocity, but otherwise they remain a mystery. We have therefore worked with several corporations to enhance the ability of ships to analyse the signals.
Interesting.
Super interesting.
They're analysing signals meaning there's plural, there's more than one.
So,
What does chat think? Are you looking forward to discovering what these signals are, what they could be? I mean, I'm interested to find out what chat think is going on. Is it apprehension? Because this, obviously, what was this, Cynthia, you know, they are fascinated. She doesn't seem that worried. She seems pretty, I mean, she's a scientist, so I'm guessing she's kind of like, well, it's something exciting for me to analyse.
Yeah, for sure. And I know a lot of commanders out there as well have been analysing very carefully, measuring you know, the direction, the speed, all sorts of things, and scanning it, trying to get images. Very interesting to see how this all develops. And at the moment, it's just a gathering information game, I suppose, at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that the more we gather information, the more the scientific community in Elite Dangerous will start to piece together and hopefully get more upgrades to more systems to take a closer look at whatever these signals and anomalies are. If you're not sure what these are, I mean, there's plenty of people you can go follow, but people have detected signals in deep space, and they are noted that they are moving. Some people have got some images of it, whatever they might be. Interesting. Where are they moving? Where are they going? What's their purpose? Are they just a phenomena? Who knows?
Who knows, indeed. Shout out to Canon, who have done a lot of research into this in particular. I'd go check them out if you wanted to find out more. That takes us actually to the end of last week for Galnet articles. I'd like to shout out Galnet News Digest, as per usual, who do an excellent job of reading out and summarising all of the news. So go check them out for more details.
Better than us.
A lot better than we do.
Also, however, if you want a really fun recap of the news, when Paul comes back, if you haven't checked it out, please check out our very own Paul's weekly roundup of the news he's been doing. Genuinely have been laughing out loud. He just literally just let Paul just loose, and he just will summarise in Paul's own style the news. And the last one, I can't remember what it was now, but he said that someone tried to give an answer they couldn't because they'd fallen over, and I was just like, he's just a very, very funny guy. And Paul's away on holiday, so we wish Paul a safe journey to America for a nice trip. So 07 Paul, but thank you for that. If you want to have a read, it's on the forums, check it out, and he'll be back doing them when he returns.
Absolutely. All right, shall we move on to the community news? All right, so normally we like to shout out the community calendar. We haven't got any major events that we'd like to give a big shout out to for the time being, but we would like to draw your attention to the community calendar in general. In case you're not aware of it, ¡calendar will take you to the webpage. Otherwise, it's elitedangerous.com/community/events. And it's just a place to share any, player-led events. So if you want to organize a little something, a get-together for any activity, whether it's PvE, PvP, honestly, anything you can think of, really, expeditions, we've seen all sorts. And then you can put the details there and host your event, and people will be able to look that up and join from there, and vice versa. If you're looking for some group gameplay to get involved in, you can check out the calendar and see what's on. So yeah, we would encourage you to use it. Besides that,
Buckyball doing their thing again with the Magic 8 Ball is concluded. So, so this is. I think have we got something to show on this one?
We've got the banner from the Magic 8 Ball Championship, which we can have on screen.
There we go. Amazing. So there we go. So the Buckyball Magic 8 Ball Championship comes to a monumental close this month with their final event, the Last Gasp, which has just passed. Huge thanks are extended as always to Alec Turner and everyone involved in such an incredibly fun and often frantic series of events this year. So we've got some facts around the Magic 8 Ball Championship again. Thanks again to Alex for providing these. So the championship ran from February to October 2022. It featured 8 races over 9 days for each race for a total of 72 days of racing. It's incredible. There's an average of around 65 commanders submissions per race. That's over 500 submissions of those taking part. And there were 47 racers who can proudly claim to be in the 1 Point Club. I wonder if our very own Tom Kuehl was in it. I know he's done a few buckyballs as our Tom, so I wonder if he's in that 1 Point Club. Could
well be. But yes, big kudos to Alec Turner and the team over at Buckyball for hosting such an amazing championship. We very much look forward to future races. If you haven't taken part in any of them before, they are a lot of fun. So yeah, we would encourage you to check Buckyball out.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
So we have that, and then we have because we're in the spooky season. Do you want to kick this one off?
Sure. Yeah. So we're going to move on to one of our favourite segments of the show, which is Stella Screenshots. Now, for anyone who's not familiar with Stella Screenshots, every week we collect your submissions of screenshots from playing Elite Dangerous, and any that we highlight are rewarded with unique paint jobs that you can't get elsewhere. Normally for the Asp Explorer. There's 3 of them: the Shatter, Ice, Acid, and Lava, which look very cool. Now, that's going to continue, and that's going on as normal. However, in addition to that, throughout spooky season, all October, we're going to be hosting Stella Screenshots in addition.
Clever, right? Clever.
Big brain. So basically, throughout this month, we're going to be looking carefully and prioritizing sort of the spookier, scarier screenshots in particular. And like I said, it's going to be every week this month. And if you do get featured as a Stella Screenshots winner throughout this month at all, then you'll be also winning an exclusive paint job that you cannot get elsewhere. I believe we do.
Hang on, chat. Pepper your Angus's. We are ready to show.
This might be my fault for not putting it where it needs to be.
We don't have it. We do not have it. But what Bruce is going to do is he's going to, whilst I fill air, as Sally likes to say, Bruce is going to fling that asset across to our producer Adam, who the magic of production will then show it on screen. But essentially, so yes, if you are having a spooky screenshot, please this minute you'll get a chance to win this incredible skin. We have it. There it is. There it is. It's a really cool skin for the Asp, right? Yes,
this is the Asp Explorer sporting the first of many Halloween paint jobs to come. This one is called the Malevolent Ghast. Yeah. So there we go.
So that's cool. So well worth entering. And please share your screenshots far and wide. The spookier, the better. And this will run until November the 2nd, if I'm correct. We'll be doing Stella Screenshots. So our last entries will be on November the 2nd. So I think it's only good that we let people know how long these will go on for. But that's not to say, if you enter standard Stella Screenshots, there's also still the other ones to be won as well. So this is running as well as. So we're giving away 2 skins for 20 people, I guess, over in a week, right? Because it's 10 and 10? Are we just picking one?
So it'll be the same 10 getting both.
Wow. Wowzers.
So for example, Stella Screenshots, so it's on a Wednesday actually, it'll be today. Anyone who wins today will be getting this paint job on screen now, as well as the usual Asp.
There you go, there's a nice surprise for you.
So
there's a nice surprise for you.
The same will be true for the next, like I say, 3 weeks.
Cool. Right, okay, so I guess we can look at some of the winners then.
Yeah, for sure. Let's hop right in. So kicking things off, we have Arpad Lukacs entry.
Paul's changed the thing at the bottom as well, hasn't he?
He has changed it.
You give Paul agency to be spooky, and he just goes full spooky, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, he's going to run with every opportunity he's got.
Yes, yeah, this is cool. I love the colours in this image. It's a very pretty screenshot. Not honestly spooky, but then that wasn't the remit for this one.
It's eerie for sure.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. I think it's just a very pretty screenshot. I don't even ask what that ship is. I always get this one confused between the Gutenmeyer style ships. I want to say it's the
Courier.
Courier, yeah. I was going to say Courier, but I don't like the sleek design. I just don't like it. If it's not boxy, if it's not a chieftain, I don't care, basically. But it's not a crate, so bonus points for that. Cool. What's our next one?
Next we have Colt Mcqueen, who submitted this image.
So that's actually pretty spooky. I'm trying to work out what side I'm looking at this from.
That looks like a crashed Cobra to me.
Yeah. It's not Jameson's, is it? It's not the.
I mean.
I can't say. Bearing in mind, just for full context, what I have in my face right here is a very bright light.
So it is genuinely not very easy for us to see.
Yeah, there's a series of bright lights around us in this bar that we're in.
People saying in chat that it does look like Jameson's ship, in fact. So yeah, there we go.
But on a low light one, it's very hard to see. But yes, there we go. Cool, very very cool. So that would definitely be a spooky. But you can't, it's not a prerequisite. Don't want to see next week 10 pictures of Jameson's. Thank you.
Up next, we have Corbin Red.
Ooh, I like this. I like this a lot. From what I can see, I'm trying to move around so I can actually see all of it. Is this archway?
Yeah, so this looks like a
abandoned
sort of settlement or at least ground area for sure. Yeah.
It's a real shame because I actually can't see it in the foreground detail because it's light.
Yeah, it is very dark, but it is a cool image. Nice and spoopy. Well done, Corbin Red. Our fourth one comes from Commander Ika. This is
actually, I can see a lot. This is so cool. This almost looks like certainly this lighting, like a manga drawing of the Thargoid. Like this is such a cool shot. Like I could see that in a comic book sort of thing, like a bit of artwork drawing.
I see what you mean.
The light I'm seeing it in, but this is really cool. Is that a debris field or is that a asteroid field? I can't work it out. And nebula behind.
I think it's debris. I think it's something that's been blown up or destroyed.
Something is no longer alive.
Correct. But yeah, really cool use of colour here as well. Actually, I think the blue from the background actually contrasts really nicely with the red of the Hydra.
343 is saying it's upside down, but I'm not sure if you can tell it's upside down because maybe
there's no upside down in space, anyways. Then
space. It's a really cool shot. So
Medusa.
Well done.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
It is Medusa. Nice work, Commander Ika.
Following that,
wow.
we have Greybeard Seawolf. Now, I thought this one was very, very cool.
That is super cool. So this is. I have to remember this light. This is a Thargoid site, right? Imprint site.
Yep.
With this, it's the silhouette of the like the building.
All the spikes. Yeah.
Across. It almost looks like an album cover.
But also the planet is just super cool as
Yeah,
well.
and then you've got the nebula just framed between the two.
Ah, yeah, I hadn't spotted that. Yeah, very nice.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah, lots
That's
going on
really
here.
Cool. Yeah. We've had these before. It's one of them pictures where you can stare at it, and the more you stare at it, the more you see. So, but
I think we actually have Greybeard Seawolf in chat, so well done.
Good shot, Greybeard. Oh, he's there. There we go. There he is. No, it's really, really cool. Really, really cool. Great shot. Congratulations.
Up next, we have Commander Namix. So I think we've actually gone inside one of the Thargoid sites
inside the
here.
structure, right, just before. They're after Grelix, doing the old
yeah.
when I'm in there. This is cool, though. It's so, if you've not been to one of these, if you haven't had a chance, I mean, they're worth visiting. But it's incredibly eerie. Activating is incredible, but just the work that's gone on in here is incredible. It's worth a look. They are a sight to behold. I prefer going here than I do the Guardian sites, if I'm honest.
It's tough because when they're both sort of activated, it gets super interesting. There's lots of stuff to do at both, and it looks fantastic. I think these ones edge the Guardian sites for me as well, but just.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, don't get me wrong, Guardian site is incredible, but I just prefer going here. I think because I'm such a fan of stuff like Aliens and stuff like that, you get some very strong vibes out of that.
Eerie is the word for sure. Then we have an image from Commander Ramor, if we're going French. It looks like we're sort of at ground level of some kind of settlement or site. Very construction feel to this one.
Well, there's the warning myco hazard on the left there.
That's right.
So just keep clear here. But it's an interesting shot. I honestly can't really see much of this because of the glare on the screen. But I'm going to say it looks fantastic then because I can't see. I can see some yellow arms. They're very industrial. Is there a ship in this shot? I can't see what I'm looking at.
So people are saying this is Stack, the INRA site. So the Thargoid. So mycohazard is sort of Thargoid
the
bits,
mycoid.
is what Kazi is saying. But yeah, there you go. So what was the question?
I couldn't, because where the light is, I couldn't see if that was the back of a ship. But it's not. Now I've moved. I can see it's just them.
Like cranes, right? Yeah, very industrial, very good shot. Well done to Commander Remort. This one comes from Rees Lang.
What a shot.
That's spectacular. Very, very cool shot.
Yeah. Nice use of the functions on the camera, like blurring out in the distance, and the stars just look incredible. This almost looks like a Christmas shot, to be fair.
Yeah, that's true. No, I like the way they focused on the foreground.
Shot. Yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful shot of some of the biologicals you can find.
I love the fact they've taken the picture from ground level as well. That's super cool. And obviously they're very close, well, not necessarily super close, but they're towards the galactic center, very dense star map in the background there. So yeah, looking very good. Well done.
Shot.
Up next we have Rudo Strife, also going along with the Thargoid theme.
I like this. This just screams Prometheus to me.
Yeah.
But you've got like three commanders here, right? I can just about, there's one at the door, one in the foreground, and obviously one to the right-hand side. But this just screams like, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, obviously people will do this, but I mean, if I saw a door like that,
can you imagine approaching? Yeah,
I would not be approaching that door. I'd be finding someone who's probably wearing a tank.
You'd be busy like opening up the egg and sticking your face in.
No, I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be doing that. I just wouldn't be anywhere near that. I'd be like, you know what? Does anyone own a tank, or does any part of like a small military organisation that can just turn up with 50 people and go through the door?
So you would turn around and leave, and the screen would go black, and then the credits would roll. Yeah,
it'd be a very short movie. If I was John Hurt and I looked down in the saw those eggs, I'd be like, no, I'm not going down there. Like, I'm clearly just seeing there's a giant elephant thing sat in a chair. It's dead. We shouldn't be here. Do you know what? We've made our money. Bear in mind, sorry to diverge here.
Yeah.
They are miners. They are not scientists, right? So they found an alien spaceship. Call it. You've just made billions. Just take it. You don't have to go in. You don't have to poke it. What's he going to do with that egg if he finds it? He doesn't know what he's going to do. He's a miner.
He's going to mine it.
They're mining it. They're mining rocks and stuff. But he's like, oh, I found an alien life form. I should probably get a person to talk to it. He deserved to die. Just should have stepped away, made millions. There'd been job done. End of the film. Next shot.
Our final shot comes from Commander Stargoid. Very funny that name's been snapped up.
That's cool. So that's a really cool shot. I wonder if Stargoid is a relatively new commander or just a commander that's changed their commander name.
I wonder. Either way.
Yeah.
I've actually seen them pop up on Twitter as well. I wonder if it's the same commander, but yes. The shot itself, very, very cool. I do have the planet there peeking over the top. I find that very, very cool.
Yeah, it's a really nice shot. It's a very elite shot.
Yes, super elite.
There's a lot going on in that picture. But yeah, great, all great pictures. Congratulations. You've all won yourself one of the Asp Explorer paint jobs, but also really, really cool. Just can we flick up again, actually, Adam? The really cool Halloween style one. And this will be available to anyone that wins a Stella Screenshot between now and November the 2nd. So this is did you say it was the Ghast?
That's right. Malevolent is the name of the set, and then this colour variant is Ghast.
Yeah, this is a really, really cool shot. And you took that picture, didn't you, Bruce?
I did.
That's actually from your very own collection.
Yes. If anyone can guess the location, you win some admiration.
Which, getting that from Bruce is actually quite difficult. So nice stuff. Okay, cool. So there we are. So I guess if you just joined us, welcome to the show. So I'm Arthur, this is Bruce, and we work for Frontier on Elite Dangerous. So during the show, if you're watching the show, you can win yourself or earn yourself, probably is a better word of saying, some Twitch drops. There's a purple set that you'll earn by watching. I think it's 120 minutes in total. You'll earn the entire purple suit, but also we're giving away 2 autumnal skins.
That's right. We're giving away the Autumn Topaz and Sapphire paint jobs, which are on your screen now.
Yeah, so and you get those just watching 30 minutes worth. You'll earn those paint jobs, and we're doing it every week, or every other week. Sorry, because we stream every other week.
That's right.
So that's cool. So we've recapped we've done Stella Screenshots. We talked about Stella Screenshots. We've covered Gaunet, and we've gone through some of the other stuff. There will be some other news soon.
There will be some other news soon. Lots of stuff coming this month, and we can't wait to share it with you. Like I say, we're going to go all in on Spooktober, all sorts of things to come.
Fun stuff.
And we hope you enjoy them. Until then, earlier we alluded to an interview that I had with Tom Kuehl, which was an absolute pleasure. Tom is a fantastic guest.
Really nice guy.
Fantastic guest, really good guy. So we're going to hop to that now. Hopefully you enjoy it. We're going to be talking a little bit about the tutorial and design in Elite Dangerous. We'll see you after this, and roll clip. Hello everyone, I am now joined by a special guest from the design team. Hello Tom Kuehl.
Hello, how's it going? Hi everybody.
Yeah, it's going really well, thanks. How are you doing?
Great, yeah. We just sort of hit a bit of a milestone in the studio, so that's quite fun. It's towards the next update on Elite, so we'll still be working hard towards getting that ready for release, but it's good. It's always good to hit a milestone.
For sure. So the milestone itself is, my understanding is we're now content complete.
Yeah.
What does that mean as such?
So we've finished the work. We've finished the work on the content. It is complete, but it might not be in a perfect state. It's not releasable yet.
Okay.
So this is now the opportunity to sort of add some polish where it's appropriate. Make sure everything fits with the feeling of the update that we're trying to achieve, and obviously make sure everything is bug-free, or as bug-free as possible.
Sure, so sort of the refinement stage at this point, polishing,
exactly,
making it all nice and neat.
And resisting the urge to go, I've had another idea.
More stuff.
More feature.
For sure.
Yep.
No, that's got to be super tempting. But that's why there's a process. That's why there's a cut-off, I guess.
That's why there's another update. There's always the next update.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is for update 14, of course, which is coming next month.
Yep.
Brilliant. Well, lots to look forward to there. Obviously, we'll tell players more about that as and when it comes. But yeah, are you excited?
Very. Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be cool.
Good. Excellent. So yeah, more on that as and when we get closer to the date. But for today, we're here to talk a little bit more about design, and we're going to touch on the tutorial as well. But before we dive into that, I appreciate not everyone in our audience will have seen you before, although this isn't anything like your debut. You've been here 3 streams now?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I suppose, one of those was LaveCon, wasn't it? So
yes. So no, welcome back. But for anyone who hasn't seen your previous appearances, could you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do at Frontier?
Sure. I'm Tom Kuehl. I'm one of the designers on the team, and I make some of the content that you play in the game. I have done a lot of work previously setting up scripts and things like that so that our scenarios and our locations have gameplay occurring in them. I also did the setup on the Scorpion SRV and, of course, the tutorial which we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember having that conversation with you about the Scorpion SRV, which is great. We'd encourage you to check that out if you haven't seen it. I think we'll put a link. Let's go !Scorpion for that one.
I mean, if you're going to get blown up by Thargoids anyway, you might as well do it in a Scorpion.
There you go. So, yeah, today we'd like to talk a little bit about the tutorial, which you had a heavy hand in, I understand. What role did you play in sort of shaping the Odyssey tutorial experience?
So the tutorial was really the first thing I looked at when I came back to Frontier after being away for parenting leave and things like that. The game was at the point where, a bit like with the update, the features were all there. They were all sort of concrete and unchanging, and we just needed to create a way of showing the players around all the features in the game that was going to feel, like it fit with the game's environment, like it wasn't boring. I hope no one found the tutorial boring. In an engaging way that introduced them to the world and to the sort of the setting of Elite on foot, but also gave them the space to experiment a little bit and fix all their bindings and get into the game without. With the skills they need, without sort of feeling like they've had to overcome this mammoth challenge as well. It's not meant to be the first boss fight of the game. It's meant to be a gentle immersion into our game systems.
Sure. No, I mean, for me, that sounds like a daunting task because obviously we haven't made a sort of full-on tutorial since, I suppose, the original one. But now there's so many new elements to introduce. Obviously, we're starting on foot this time, and you want to show off all of those mechanics, but also have it like I say, feel immersive to the universe itself.
So we've had a few micro tutorials, I would call them.
Sure.
Things like when we introduced the Scarab, we ended up creating a few tutorials and a few scenarios and things like that players could play to do those, and being able to refer back to that stuff and the work that was done to enable those and sort of get those set up was definitely something we pulled in when we started doing the Odyssey one. I think the real useful tool on starting this work was that Luke Betterton and Gareth Hughes, who were two of the designers at the time, they just put together this incredible list of these are the things we need to teach, and this is the order we need to teach it. The wrapper for that was ultimately kind of up to me and up to our level design team as well to sort of create the shape of the tutorial, but it was super handy just having this checklist of this is what we need to teach the player to do.
So you had a more or less a flow established. It was just a case of fleshing that out and basically building the experience around this sort of. Is spine the right word? I guess. Yeah.
Skeleton?
Skeleton. Yeah. I don't know why I was so specific with the back, but yeah. Sure. Okay. Great. So today we're actually going to play through the tutorial a little bit just to show it off and talk about the development of it and all the thought processes that went into the various elements. But before we do, I believe you've got something to show us pre-completion.
Yeah, so I wanted to show a video that shows the first moments of the tutorial at various stages of development of the game, starting with something really quite basic. And if I run it here, I mean...
Sure, so we'll have this on screen so you can watch along with us.
But you can see, the starting moments. I think, aside from just technically getting things running, there were sort of philosophy changes. What should the player see as their first moment in the game? What should they be taking away from this moment as they're finally dropped off onto their own 2 feet?
For sure. So yeah, obviously this is a big step change for anyone who was already playing Elite but then had to be introduced to the ground, essentially. So yeah, what kind of things were you thinking about? One thing that's really notable to me is you actually start the tutorial not at the settlement itself. You've got to actually spend a bit of time walking over there. What was the purpose behind that?
So we needed a bit of safe space for the player to find their control settings, to literally to find their feet.
Right.
Because if you jump into this and you sort of go, right, well, I want to go forward, so the forwards arrow key seems like the obvious one, and you press it and it doesn't do anything. If we're suddenly dropping guards all around you, or you're in the middle of a sort of a battle zone, that's not going to be a good fit for picking up those controls and things like that. So dropping the player off, also presenting them with a little bit of the narrative and a little bit of the setup, and leaving a little bit of mystery as well, right? The premise of the tutorial is that you're essentially a sort of special ops volunteer,
sure,
something like that. You've ended up in this fight, and you're on this sort of secret mission to sneak into this base and get some stuff. But your expectation is the base is going to be full of guards and it's going to be a big shootout, or a very difficult sort of stealth mission. And so we needed to preserve that mystery bubble, as it were, around the settlement. So dropping you on the outskirts where you can get glimpses of it, but you don't necessarily see if there are guards walking around, if there's ships coming into land and things like that until later on in the game, is I think that was an important first thing. I think the other thing, whilst we've got the last few seconds of that video running, is the ground. We wanted to make sure it was, relatable ground, as weird as that feels to say. If it was like Arctic tundra or something, or obsidian rocks, that sort of thing,
right,
that might be a little bit harder for the player to relate the experience of walking on. Whereas sort of gravelly dirt, we've all been for that kind of walk.
So that was a very specific choice then. Okay.
We also discussed the idea of do we treat the player as if maybe they've been drop shipped down and start them in the air so that they have to sort of land and drop. Apart from the fact that occasionally we would set the height wrong and you'd get full damage from the start, which was it's not the best opening. Maybe we could have tutorialized using health packs and be like, right, just patch your legs up.
Yeah.
But also, I think we were thinking the whole point is you're on your feet, right? You've got your space legs. So starting floating in the air is kind of like, we don't really. Let's get the player on the ground, on their feet, on ground that they can recognize, with this mysterious settlement ahead of them to go and explore.
Right, so yeah, from the very off then, you're thinking immediately, so it kind of goes to show for me that the whole experience is very crafted from start to finish. You're thinking about every moment right from the beginning. Okay, how is the player going to feel and experience this part of the story that we're trying to create here? And also what's going to be optimal for them experiencing these new mechanics we have to introduce as well. So, all right then, was there anything else you wanted to say about that clip? I appreciate I've asked you a question during the clip, but forewent the opportunity for you to mention anything else about it.
No. I think it's just a nice thing to see before we then jump into the real tutorial itself, because it gives you an idea of the sort of the process that it all went through to get to what I hope is perceived as quite a polished, finished product today.
I think so, yeah. It comes across that way to me. So, and I've only heard good things said about the tutorial as well.
Oh, good.
So,
well, it really was like setting out our stall. Even if you've got thousands of hours logged on Elite, when you boot up Odyssey for the first time, it's the first thing that you play through.
right.
Even if players do decide to immediately quit and get straight back into the open version of the game or whatever, I think it was important for us that those first moments were impactful.
Yeah, for sure. I think they have a very strong impact. So we're going to hop into the tutorial now so you can play through it for us and talk a little bit more in depth about the different moments. We've actually very deliberately started on the main game screen. Would you like to tell people why that is?
Yeah, so before we started this stream, in fact, Bruce, you said to me, of course, we'll have to clear our save to play the tutorial again. But it's worth saying you can just go into the training menu here and you can replay all of our tutorials, including the Spaceship Pilot's Assessment and the Surface Operation, which is the Odyssey tutorial.
Yes.
So we'll jump into that today, and then that kind of leads on to quite a nice little point. Everyone remembers the Azimuth Saga finale clip that we played. The first steps into the technological change to be able to play that video as players logged into the game were actually seeded on this moment, where instead of having the usual spinning Sidewinder or spinning whatever, we were able to play just a short clip as if it was the...
so the mission brief being typed.
Exactly,
yeah,
the top secret file being logged or something.
Right.
So there goes Dylan. he's quite good fun. I was very pleased to be able to use the Cobra Mark IV for him. I think it's quite difficult to get a Cobra Mark IV, isn't it? I think you have to be
these days, yeah, fairly tricky to get your hands on one.
had to be a Kickstarter backer, so you don't see them very often.
It's a nice little detail as well, because you might miss that very quickly if you're not paying attention. So almost a semi-Easter egg, I guess, that he's flying off in one of those.
I guess so. You get a better look at him later on.
When he's back,
at least.
sure.
So he's flying off into the sunset? I can't remember. If you sit on this planet long enough, it will continue to rotate, but we did very specifically find a planet with a very slow orbit.
Right.
So that you get as much time as possible at this sort of beautiful sunsetty lighting.
Also, we don't want people reaching the settlement and suddenly they're plunged into darkness, and now it's a very different tutorial, I
Exactly.
suppose. Yeah.
Well, and sort of working on the sort of comment that I said earlier, that we were setting out our stall. You know, one of the big parts of Odyssey was we were bringing in these tenuous atmospheres. So we wanted to find something where it was going to be a really beautiful shot showing off that technology.
Oh yeah, no, it's
but
gorgeous.
also in the same sort of theory as the ground, you know, a sort of relatable sunset. You know, we could have made Sally's Day and gone for like a bright pink, you know, burning star or something like that. But I think having this where it's like it's not so different from a sunset at home. It's just, hey, I can see the stars because the atmosphere is only thin.
Right.
I think it was a really nice decision in the end.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's a really great setting, and like I say, super impactful. Especially, well, funny enough, this is something I wanted to touch on quite early on. Is this tutorial, like you said before, is going to be experienced by both experienced players, but also anyone who starts the game with Odyssey as a brand new player as well. And maybe we'll talk a little bit more in a bit about how you designed and catered to both of those audiences. But yes, this is very much the first experience that someone who's been waiting for Space Legs for potentially a few years now. And yeah, the first thing they get to see is this beautiful environment. So yeah, that's great.
And so Dylan's gone flying off into the sunrise in his beautiful ship. And I kind of wanted to go to one of the clips because obviously what he does most of the time is take off, fly to a safe distance, and then zip out. He does a little jump to super cruise and is sort of orbiting the planet for the rest of your mission, keeping in radio contact with you. However, because Lua is a fickle beast, just occasionally he'll miss his instructions, and so there is a backup plan. So if we run the video that's called Surprise Ending, I sort of did this so that we could have a closer look at the ship. We called the ship the Silkworm,
Okay.
because his name is Dylan Silk, and it just felt like his kind of a move to name his ship after himself. If he fails to take his jumping away instructions, then a backup script kicks in, or backup co-routing kicks in, and just nukes him from orbit. Which I think, yeah, there we go.
Oh no, poor Dylan.
Sorry, Dylan.
That's terrible.
He'll be back, but
Okay.
he always gets far enough away that I don't think you ever see it. But I think I might have spotted on streams once before where there was just like a little quiet just in the distance.
That's brilliant. That's so
Most
funny.
of the time it doesn't happen, but luckily when I was doing some recording for this, the bug happens. I was like, oh, I've got to capture that.
That's great. Okay, so sometimes when players are going through this experience, yeah, poor Dylan's getting sent to the rebuy screen,
He'll be back.
but only to return safely later. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything around this settlement that we're about to appear, or that we're about to get to, is based on these large proximity zones. The idea, again, with Odyssey is that it's an extremely open world, right? You can
Yes.
approach this from any direction you like. So we wanted to make sure that this tutorial will hold up against the player. If I decide to, you know, face off in this direction and sprint that way and take 45 minutes to circle around and come in at the settlement entirely the other direction, the flow of the tutorial needs to work. I'm not suggesting anyone does that because there are literally no surprises there. It will just, you know, it'll just waste some of your time.
Of everyone in chat, how many of you did exactly that? Just turned around and went the other way. It's a very gamer thing to do.
That's true. Well, if you just run off in the opposite direction, Dylan will chide you and tell you you're going the wrong way and send you back towards the base. But we can't, you know, we don't stop the player from doing that. They're
So
welcome to.
you could go all the way around and approach the settlement from the other side if you wanted.
If that's what you want to do, that's
you
absolutely
really
fine.
wanted
If you've
to
got
do
the energy cells for that, by all means. But another thing with that as well is we wanted to have this music sting as you crest the hill to sort of go, look at the view, look at the thing.
Sure.
What we realised when we started playtesting this, which is another important step, just getting people to play the tutorial, eyes on it, to give us their feedback immediately. But once we started letting people play it, people would land, they would see the ship flying off into the sunset, and they would go, oh, something cool's over there. And so they'd run over here and they'd look at this view instead.
Right.
So instead of having our impactful moment as they came over the crest, they'd be like over here looking at this and ignoring their objective. So that was one of the sort of last minute things we had to then add in, was essentially setting up that music sting, which is probably playing over now, to sort of give them a little bit of a like,
For
as
sure.
they look
No, it
over
creates
this,
a really beautiful
cool
moment.
crater.
It's not to talk about other games too much, but it feels very sort of Assassin's Creed when you sit on the perch and you get that moment with the big view and the music. Yeah, I think it's creating sort of a similar moment, like you say. It's nice to have that. I assume it was very deliberately done, but to have that crater right next to where the player starts, it does just pull you in to look at, because it'll be the first time players are seeing. Obviously, they'll have been on planet surfaces and SRVs before.
Yep.
But the first time they'll actually be walking up to a crater on foot, that if they really wanted to, they could go down, walk around, and check out.
And you really can. I mean, I'm not gonna, because again, it'll take hours. But yeah, I think it gives a real sense of your own size, right?
Right.
People have talked about stepping under their ship for the first time in Odyssey, and suddenly realizing how massive this thing is. We saw the Cobra flying over there. It crosses the crater in about, 20 seconds. So you suddenly get a really good sense of the size of the environment you're in by just having this huge object here. Plus, it's just, it looks cool.
Yeah, amazing. No, nice to not actually have. It's kind of refreshing in a way, not to have invisible walls in the tutorial, sort of shoving you in one direction. Obviously, we would encourage you to go towards the tutorial area and check out all the different things, but it's kind of almost unique to Elite that we are so open world that players really are free to check it out.
So open world, it hurts. So then we've got all this debris and stuff, which is supposed to be your first clue that perhaps something is not right at the base. I was extremely keen on. I mean, I'm sure some of our players can probably tell me what ship this chunk is from. But I was extremely keen to have a recognisable crashed ship here. And also, around about this time, we get the jump prompt as well. That's very deliberate as well, as much as I've made a complete fluff of that. But, I don't know about you, the first thing I did was jump on top of this ship.
Of course.
So we sort of give the player the instruction on how to do that as they might be tempted to do it. Plus, you're in this valley at the moment. This was, this isn't sculpted particularly. This is just serendipitously here.
Sure.
But it means you can kind of practice your jumping and your boosting, and you're not getting too much of a sneak peek. If we were on the top of a hill, for example, you would be able to boost up and you'd be able to see the whole thing.
That's quite nice. There's like a fake horizon there that sort of hides, because then we're going to get a nice reveal as we walk up the hill.
Indeed. And another cool serendipitous thing. Obviously, we re-rolled the planet tech multiple times as we were developing the game and developing this, until we settled on the final galaxy as it is now. And on that final roll, as a pure chance thing, we got a few botanicals just on the crest of this hill.
That's so nice.
And they're not placed at all, they just happen to appear. So you get a little bit of extra interest. And I think, again, that's just something that can only kind of happen in Elite, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really, really cool.
There we go. So we're over the crest of the hill, and you get to see something is not quite right.
Sure.
These turrets, God bless them, were the biggest pain to get to be blown up.
Okay.
They just did not want to be. In fact, at one point, I got them so that they were dead and on fire and pouring out smoke, and then we did a build where it was in the sort of ready to release mode, and we looked at it and they were all alive again, because the test we'd set up to kill them didn't work in that particular type of build.
Right, okay. Just refusing to be dead.
Just did not want to die. Or even worse, you'd get to a certain stage in the tutorial and then you'd come back into it and they'd all revive.
Right, okay.
Which they're not really supposed to do. At one point, I even had a bit of the script that would essentially do like a fake gunshot and just shoot them at the start of the tutorial to damage them. But you had to do, anyone who's tried to kill a turret with like an assault rifle or anything, you have to do so much damage.
That's a slog for sure.
And you could definitely hear, you could just about hear Dylan exploding in the console, but you could definitely hear the machine gun fire for 2 minutes.
Right, but you did manage to kill them off more permanently in the end. Then.
Yeah, we figured out what was blocking it, and we got them sorted. And so now you get these really cool plumes of smoke as you come down the hill, and you generally get the sort of destroyed feel of the base. I'm gonna jetpack up to here. I know I should be focusing on investigating the storage building. I'm sorry, Dylan, but I'm gonna jetpack up to here. Another nice sort of serendipitous part of this planet that we scouted for is that the gravity is just about right that you can get up to the top of every building. So that desire to enable the player to explore, it pays off here because they really can. If they want to, go and stand on the top of the satellite dish if you want to. You can just about get there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's one of the first things players will want to have done, I'm sure, is just test the jetpack and jump around
just
and
explore a base, right? It's a really nice part of this idea of a sort of post-attack settlement is one of the few chances you get in Elite to just explore a place in safety.
Yeah,
the game's not going to jump out at you, or at least not until we tell it to, anyway.
Sure.
I wanted to jump up here to show off, we put all these tyre tracks and marks as if people have been driving across this area.
Okay.
Because the idea that we're selling is this is a storage building, this whole settlement is some sort of military warehouse kind of area. And so, disregarding these irritating crates, oh, he's going to tell me off for that. Nice of you to announce yourself. That was fun to set up as well. You can trigger that with grenades too.
Nice.
So if you make loud actions, he tells you off for not being stealthy. This obviously doesn't happen in the game, but that doesn't mean it's not part of our thoughts. The idea that these garage doors should probably open, right, to allow vehicles in and out with deliveries.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing you sort of account for when setting up these places, yeah.
Exactly, and I don't know if we'll ever get round to that being a feature of the game, having garage doors opening and closing, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be thinking about it, and that doesn't mean we can't include that in our sort of holistic approach to level design.
Yeah.
So what we had previously as well, to add to the sort of columns of smoke and fire and things like that, to give you that immediate impression that something's gone down at this place, is we had a few blown up SRVs here as well, with columns of smoke. And when I go into this building, I think it'll be apparent why we had to take them out. So we come up to here, we have panel cut, panel is down.
There it is.
That was some work to do as well, getting a panel to be pre-cut. It also, this pings out at the start of the scenario, so it's very much luck of the draw as to whether it goes really nicely next to him, like it's very clear he's done this.
Oh, I
she's
see.
done
It
this.
actually pops off during, I see.
Basically during the load sequence, this
So if somehow
gets
you
triggered.
were there
You would watch
before,
it,
you would see it.
flop out.
Okay.
Sometimes it lands on this person, sometimes it bounces off them and ends up at all sorts of funny places. So this is fortuitous.
Right, we've got a pretty good, yeah.
But it also allows me to learn about charging doors without having to learn about using the cutting tool, right?
Right.
So it's nicely segmenting.
So you didn't want cutting to be the first thing players learn about?
It's more about the sequence of the lessons, right? We didn't want it to be learn this one thing, now learn this different thing, and now back to the first thing and the second thing.
Okay.
It's about giving the player just the one lesson and the time to process that.
Sure.
Because they're going to use this thing a lot in the scenario, so it's nice just to use it in isolation here.
Okay.
But now we're inside, we hear all about the so I've turned my torch on already, so he's not going to tell me to turn my torch on.
Right.
That's quite a nice. If my torch was off as I went in, he would want me to turn the torch on too. So that's again a nice little careful nuance to make sure we're teaching the player the lessons they need to learn.
Right.
Remember, I was saying earlier we wanted it to not be like a tedious experience. So, yeah, we don't need to teach our players to suck eggs. If they already know how to walk in a first-person shooter game, they'll walk out of that bubble at the start before the prompt pops up because they don't need it.
Right.
Hopefully, we just give the player the lessons they need
Okay, so
that
in the
are
same
specific
way,
to their knowledge.
in the same way, someone who's already found the torch, then you don't need to give them that prompt. They found it.
Yeah, exactly. It starts off as off, so if they found the way to turn it on, they know what they're doing. They don't need us to draw that lesson out. So here's the SRV. This is why we can't have blown up SRVs outside, because we found players were coming in and they were going, there should be an SRV around here, and they go, oh, I know where there's an SRV. There's one out here. And then they would sort of end up distracted and in the wrong way.
Okay.
So it was keeping the flow nice and linear, keeping them moving forwards.
Right.
So we definitely, originally actually, we had this parked over here, but it meant we had to move all these cover objects out of the way, and we sort of cut a load of opportunities to loot things. And it broke that connection between these garage doors and vehicles going in and out, right? So parking it right in front of there, although it means you have to do a slightly awkward about face as you come into the building, you know, we put the objective marker on it. We try and make it fairly easy.
Right.
It's a moment of awkwardness, but I think there's always a bit of compromise in design, right? You sort of have to
Sure.
pick the best.
Well, it's certainly an improvement over the backtracking, like you say.
So we get this one as well. You get your first training with the cutting tool. And again, I'm the worst because I know what to do, so I always just fly through this stuff. But it was really cool to set up the loops and things like that so that we could check how far the player has got through the process of getting out the right tool, finding the right place to fire it, you know, using it in the correct way. And so if you've got the wrong tool out, it'll keep repeating the tool prompt. If you've got the right tool out, it'll keep giving you the advice about where to cut,
Right.
things like that. So it's a surprisingly large number of lines of Lua to
Sure.
achieve that.
So it's always about paying attention to where in your sort of intended flow the player is, and then just giving them the next instruction, essentially.
Definitely, and understanding that some players are going to go backwards through that flow. You know, some people are going to get lost, or they're going to get confused about what they're supposed to be doing. One thing I always like to do here, the most tempting thing when this thing opens up is to go, ooh, stuff,
Yeah,
stuff, stuff, stuff.
that's the gamer instinct kicking in again.
And then Dylan gives you a little nag saying, you really shouldn't be stealing things. And be like, oh yeah, that is a good point. Because, you know,
These are the same players who turned around as soon as they spawned in and went the other way.
exactly, and there's no helping those guys. But I think it's quite a pertinent one for Elite, right? Because, as you say, you know, if you've come off Bioshock or whatever, you're just going to pick up every object you see. Whereas in this game, if you start just picking up random stuff, people are going to shoot you.
Right.
and that's
Right.
that's not what we want their first experience to be in the game. So this is quite a nice, gentle way of going, like, you're going to get in trouble if you
matters.
steal things. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something we're paying attention to. But not every guard in the place hunting you down. So we get our regulator draw. Some of our QA are so quick at this section that they were able to outrun the script, and they could get this to the reactor room and into the reactor before Dylan has finished doing all his spiel.
Right.
So we had to revisit this bit of script over and over and over again to find find the right speed that we needed to start the next part of the game to catch all those movements. I'm just trying to think, because you could get to the point where essentially the base was powered on and he's still trying to explain to you how the reactor works.
Right.
Our writer, Ben, who I think you had on stream a couple of weeks ago,
Yes.
was just really good. Like, we pared everything down to the point where we're like, we need to get the information over and we need to set our tone, but like, we can't just have him sort of waffling on about like, oh, I remember my first power reactor. It had to be like really clipped,
Really to
and I
the
think
point.
that was super disciplined of them. Did you know you can kill this thing?
I didn't know that, actually. That had never occurred to me.
In fact, let's do it the easy way. Boop, 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 boop.
There
And
you go.
if you kill it before you've taken the power regulator out of it, you get sent to the game over screen. And
Oh,
you have to,
interesting.
you have to restart the checkpoint.
Right. That makes sense.
That's a beautiful bit of physics. How did it end up that way? Never mind. But yeah, if you kill it, you end up having to start again.
Right.
Free tire to play with too. Again, I'm surprised more players don't do that. But probably, you know, blowing stuff up immediately might just be something I do. You get the option here to go out either door as well. We definitely guide the player to this door, but if you
Okay.
choose to go out the other door, you get different timings on the lines that get delivered to you, again, to make sure that the next building you need to see is in sight before he says,
Okay.
go to this one. We also have a nice little optional objective here to grab some energy cells, which we'll do, just because I like seeing boxes getting ticked. There we go, objective complete, feels good. And then again, a nice return to the energy tool and just re-tutorializing what they need to know about getting that. So hopefully by the time they've come out of here, they're comfortable with how this tool works. They've probably still got it out as well, which is a big help.
Yep.
We get our kind of money shot down the line of the base.
Yes.
Getting the planet and the sunshine to line up on this and having the long shadows, that was quite an important artistic goal with this one.
Yeah, that's a great moment. That looks awesome.
Yeah, and you really notice all these corpses that are lying around. I was doing quite a lot of work on my phone when we were setting this up, and so I would get back to a Teams message or something saying like, hey, are the corpses in the right place? I'd be like, yeah, I've set up some of the corpses and the corpses are looking okay. And now if I put the word "the" into my phone, it quite often suggests corpses as a response. So that's lovely. But yeah, that was an interesting pass, and the resultant work of sort of getting these people so everyone is sitting nicely and they're sort of looking like they're in a place where they might reasonably have
been murdered.
Then sort of inspired us to do this in all of our settlements. So that flow where you end up with it solved a tangential design problem. Basically, we were sort of saying, right, in a shutdown settlement, how do players get inside locked doors? Do they have to just overpower every door? And we realised, no, we can put this alternative route of finding the corpses.
Yes.
And again, the level design team had a really good time just going around there and sort of making a puzzle out of it of like, right, where do we put the high security bodies and where do we put the lower security bodies and things like that.
Because you don't want the first body people see to be the highest security, because that kind of circumvents the whole... Yeah.
Exactly. I think one of my favourite things about the identity stealing thing, though, is once you've got an identity, you can go over to your teammates or just any other commander, and they can scan you to steal the identity that you've stolen, and you can all clone each other's identities. So there's something really nice that just feels very like special ops, you know?
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool. I also learned a little trick actually from a couple of weeks ago when we had Darren on stream, and he told me that one of the most efficient ways to do that for anyone who's interested is to go to one of the buildings where they've got a glass ceiling you can look through, and you can actually scan through that, which I found a really handy little tip.
Yeah, that is a good one. Right, let's get into this power building. So again, theoretically, nothing the player doesn't know, but what this door is tutorializing is rather than the mechanics, it's tutorializing the systems. So we're telling the player about locks and about security levels and things like that.
Okay.
And giving them a refresher on all the tools they're going to need to use.
Sure, so they've got the groundwork, they know cutting a panel, they know the charging tool.
Yeah, and so now they kind of get their own moment of, you know, they've seen a panel on the ground before, they know what's happening, they've sort of seen all this. Hopefully this all flows really naturally, but just in case it's not, we're still showing them the prompts, we're still giving them the advice to get through it all. And then, yeah, here we go. So we've got a security thing. The nice thing about this is, of course, you've just been aiming here, so like you see that. It's very difficult to miss that big red security warning in your face. And then overcharging, again, giving them all the right prompts, hopefully making it nice and easy. There was a long period where you could do that even though the panel was there, which was super handy for me because it meant I could playtest later parts of the tutorial much more quickly. But it gets us in here. So this is quite an interesting section as well. This one, I wanted to talk about the flow, because again, it's a nice example of us being quite open. So Dylan is obviously going to give you step-by-step instructions of put the thing in the casing, go to the computer. Oh no, it's got security as well.
Right.
This is security that you can't work your way around, so you have to get security from one of these guards. And then you sort of go through the steps again to cycle the thing. But of course, we are experienced commanders. We already know all this stuff. So if I get this guy's profile already, and then I start doing the extra steps, Dylan is going to skip all that.
Right.
He's only going to teach me the lessons I need to know. And as soon as that's in, he's going to say, right, there's the panel. We don't need to talk about security because you clearly know about that already.
Understand it. Sure.
So off you go. You can just enjoy watching our cool reactor startup thing.
For sure.
Which I still get a blast out of every time I see it.
It looks great out of this as well. Will there always be a guard with the clearance that you need to complete this bit in that specific room as well?
Yeah, so these guards are very pre-placed. Again, it's because it's the tutorial, we wanted to have quite strict control over.
Again, you didn't want sending people back outside to look more or any of that.
Exactly. Cool, we're back online. Yeah, so actually that's a really good point. If we look at, in fact, let's look from here. If we look at the view from this door, the command building is lit up. It's you know, it's not quite directly opposite, but it's definitely in your field of view as you come out the door.
Yeah.
When we were doing the layout of this, I mean, I did a sort of a first block out pass where I literally put the buildings opposite each other, and then our level design team, especially Justin Rosewell, came in and sort of beautified it and added that verticality. But it was a really nice bit of collaboration to just ensure that we kept those sight lines. Hang on, I love an optional objective, so I'm going to get that. Kept those sight lines, kept it all sort of nice and easy to see where you're supposed to be going next. I mean, if we quickly zip up to the edge of the storage building, we even made a gap in the crates so you can kind of see, all right, Ariana, you can kind of see the power sign there, and you can sort of see the door that you're supposed to be going to. So, I mean, I went down the ramp because I'm a good boy and I don't step on the grass, but you're absolutely free to go in a straight line, literally a beeline, straight to your next objective.
So that line of sight was deliberately kept open. You're very much directing the player focus and attention and encouraging them down a certain path.
Not every settlement is laid out like this, but it was really nice to be able to get this to the point where it worked really well as a tutorial, but also fit with the style of the game well enough to be a settlement that we then used in the Galaxy Generation 2.
Yeah, no, I'm starting to really appreciate just how crafted this level is, because you've got lots of things to balance here, all these different plates to spin. You want the flow to feel intuitive and natural for someone who's trying to learn the game, but you also want to direct their attention to certain places while making sure you've got things that, so you want appropriate cover as a level design issue for later on.
Exactly.
Loads of things to bear in mind.
So obviously we're supposed to go over to the command building now, but let's go and do something that perhaps people haven't seen, because there's this whole building over here, the habitation building. We never direct the player here.
It's a little bit out of the way compared to the other stuff.
It is, but part of the reason, part of the thinking with all of our settlements, and especially this one, is people live here, people work here. So where do they sleep? Where do they eat? Where do they take a shower?
Right.
And so we knew we had to have a habitation building, and we thought, well, is it just this big redundant building, or should we have a bit of fun with it? So when you approach the habitation building, Dylan, again, he gets into naggy mode and starts to have a bit of a go at you for wandering off the path. This part of the tutorial is one of my favourites because you are now in a position where you have high authority, even though it's stolen. Everything is switched on. So this is kind of like, this is your payoff moment where suddenly exploring this base is really easy. You've got you're free of combatants, you've got very little danger, and you've got all the access. So there was kind of a hope that players would either come and use the skills they've built up, skills they've picked up from the rest of the tutorial and cut their way in, or just take this moment to come and explore anyway. So coming in here, there's nothing in the habitation area. Are you going to take a nap if you go over to the bunks? Oh yeah,
oh,
if
great.
You try and take a nap, I swear I'm just going to leave you here. I think this was good fun. I think, again, Ben had a good time writing some stuff that fit nicely in this location. Oh yeah, there's a bathroom in here, and I think if you go to you should have showered before the mission. Yeah, the mission you're currently on. So that's quite cool. I think that's quite a nice reminder that people live in this space, and actually we can have a bit of fun in the tutorial as well, right?
Oh, definitely. That's really good. I like that. And like I say, it's very much teaching the player that if you go about approaching a settlement by getting these things first, you want to turn it on, you want to get the clearance, all that kind of stuff, then you can sort of pillage at your leisure or whatever else you want to do, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, the unfortunate thing with this one is we couldn't figure out a way to let the player keep things they picked up in the tutorial into their sort of online persona, as it were.
Okay.
So it would have been really cool to have like a special gun hidden in there that they could have then added to their inventory, but it's not a system of the game, so we couldn't support it.
Sure.
But I think hiding a little bit of fun dialogue and fun background narrative is definitely
that always feels like a
reward.
nice reward in of itself. If whenever someone goes off the beaten path a little bit, or doesn't just beeline for the checkpoints and explores a little bit, that's always a nice thing in a video game when you go off piste and get some extra dialogue, whatever it is.
Yeah. Right. Let's get in here. So that's Dylan kind of saying what I just said before. You know, we've got all the clearance, we've got the power on, we can just walk inside. It's really cool. So another optional one, we've got to locate the command data port. That's fine. That's the main objective. He should, any moment now, start telling me about the atmosphere processing. But theoretically, you just jump past it if you want. It's up to you. It's up to you, dear players. And he'll even warn you. You know, you've got to be careful then if you don't want to turn it on. Do you know what? I love ticking boxes. I'm gonna go back and just make everything safe. We also made sure that, you know, if the player chooses to explore this ground floor bit, they've got power to get. There's an ammo crate just around the corner here, I think. Oh, is it? It's on the other side of that wall. But you know, it's all places you can get to, and you can sort of give your commander a few extra tools and bits and bobs by just sort of having a look in the space you've made safe. So an optional objective, but like quite a cool one to just be able to give yourself a future benefit for doing now.
Which also pays off in the same tutorial a little bit later on.
Indeed, spoilers. So again, there's a terminal. If you already know where the data port is, you can just run straight to the data port. But this was quite a big one on our list of things that players need to learn to use, right? Anyone who's tried to play a mission probably knows terminals are pretty important to locating what you want to have. Hopefully, by this point, players can just understand that you need to have authorization and clearance and things like that. It would have been lovely to be able to sort of teach them some of this before, you know, have them attempt to use a terminal and then be like, oh, I don't have the clearance, and then come back to it later when they do. But, you know, we sort of bent the flow. We were talking about that idea of being able to...
Always moving forward, ideally, yeah.
So it just didn't fit well enough. Now, what are we doing? We're using, select facility. See, the handy tool prompts there to keep me on the straight and narrow. Command center, yep, good. And then operations. And then, is 0078, is that a meme? One of the programmers asked me to set up one of the lockers so it had a very specific passcode. I can't remember.
Maybe. Could be a meme that I'm just not familiar with.
Possibly, but I think one of those was. If that, I can't remember if that stuck or not. But there you go. That's potentially a cool Easter egg as well. So there we go. We've selected our data port. We've used the terminal to help us locate it. We'll go around this way because you get these cool guys. Getting these guys to slump against the wall like that without their heads clipping through the doors or through the edges and things like that. That was some work, but I think it paid off. Also, I mean, I think I used a lot of favors with our animation department who posed all of these corpses for me. I used quite a few favors to get this person set up in a way where they're like appropriately slumped over a console in a way that doesn't look too janky. But there was a lot of back and forth to get that to work.
Nice. Well, it definitely adds a really nice effect. I think the juice was worth the squeeze on that one.
Thanks. Yeah. So we did an update to downloads a couple of patches ago that reduced the download time on a few different things. Okay. And included in that was the tutorial download data. And a hilarious consequence of that was you download the data, you get it all very quickly, and then you have to wait for about a minute for the pirates to sort of come in and land. Okay. Sorry, spoilers, there's going to be pirates in a minute. Hopefully we've been foreshadowing that with all the sort of reports of, oh, I'm picking up hostile ships on their way in.
Sure.
So we had to then create a dummy version of NOC data which had the classic timings, as it were.
Okay.
So this is the 1.0 30-second download time, so that whilst you're standing here next to the port, you get enough time to watch the ship come in.
Right.
At one point, we had this whole setup on a much higher gravity planet, and the dropship was really struggling to fly above the settlement because it was constantly being pulled down, but then fighting against the AI to try and keep clear of the buildings and things like that.
Right.
So that was pretty good. I'm really glad we got a proper spiky loadout on this thing as well.
Yeah, they did great.
So because I've stood in the window with my torch on and guns pointed out and things like that, they've kind of noticed me straight away, and they'll soon alert the rest of their squad. But it is possible on this one to remain stealthy and sneak your way
Get the
downstairs.
jump on them. Yeah.
And you can use the electric tool, the energy link, to deliver a few instant zap deaths.
Nice.
And that's quite cool. That feels very sort of Splinter Cell, very Assassin's Creedy again.
Yeah, it's nice that throughout the whole thing we've sort of maintained the stealth option. There's no point at which you have to be sort of discovered and go into full combat mode if you didn't want to.
Yeah, I think we definitely wanted the player to end up in a firefight as part of this, but
Sure.
again, they're not going to do that by accident. I think if they're already a player with combat experience and things like that, they'll be fine. They'll get into that firefight. It'll be fine. If they're good enough at stealth that they can completely avoid it, then okay. They're good enough at games that they probably don't need us to tutorialize how to win a shootout.
Sure.
The only downside, and I genuinely really wanted to find a different way to handle this, was to be able to like hide and have them eventually, come and check if the data is there, find it's missing, and go like, all right, fall back, and actually make it possible to complete this in a pacified way. But unfortunately, our reinforcements, once they have come, they are here. They don't.
They're not going to just let you slip away.
They don't just disappear off. Unfortunately, no. So they do hold their position outside, which is good. That's partly because they don't have the clearance to come in, but they'll do their little patrols out there while they don't have anyone active to fight. So we got to have a little bit of setup on where they are. By just giving them patrols that take them to interesting areas, get them to stand with their backs to the doors for a little while and things like that. There's two ways out of here. That way is kind of straight into combat. So if you go out there, we've got cover placed and we've got the guards placed in such a way that you ought to be able to fight your way out of the airlock and get to the good cover ahead of you and then sort of sweep along the edge of the landing pad to fight them. So we tried to make quite a careful choice about where to engage them.
You don't want a new player who is maybe less familiar with FPS gameplay just going out and getting blasted immediately.
Right, or if they do,
Or at
in
least
that
not
process,
having- yeah.
hopefully they spot the opportunity to like do it a bit more cleverly next time.
Right.
There are checkpoints, so.
Yes.
But if you come out the side door, the same door you came in, which is probably a little bit less natural, but again, we're trying to be open here now. We're not having to be quite so forced about staying on the path. Whoops. I'll turn my shields on as well.
Well, it
totally
also
ignored that
rewards
prompt.
people who think that way as well. If they think, oh, actually, maybe I don't want to go up there. I can see them on the radar. Let me go out a side way.
But it's much more possible to get a bit more of a drop on these guys and sort of sneak down the main pathway to get them. Oh, go on then, right. So the fun thing I always think with fighting these guys is they are, proper low level. They're really easy.
Which definitely adds to sort of the Spec Ops. I'm a sort of badass kind of
Definitely.
guy going to take him out. Yeah.
You have like top-rated gear, top-rated weapons, so it's cool. You do feel very powerful in this scenario. I greatly enjoy it. I've taken a bit of fire. Dylan will give you quite a lot of advice depending on if you're doing well or not. Oh, if my shield gets taken out by this, he'll go right. Get to cover. Oh, although. Okay, yeah. So we're getting kills confirmed. The shield's holding up, but use cover. Yep. And he's warning us that the next ship is coming in. So all this stuff is like, at this point, he's rather than giving sort of scripted lines, he's very much like analysing the situation and
So
trying
it's
to feed you information you need. In fact, while this fight is still going on, what have I got fewer ammo in? He'll comment if you blow up a barrel. If you get a multi-kill, if you get sort of 2 kills at once, he's very impressed by that. And says things like, oh, you're tearing through them and things. That's 300 ammo, isn't it? Right, we're going to fire off all these shots because nobody sees the special objective I set up for if you lose ammo. And it does a few very clever things, and it finds the closest ammo box, and it gives you an objective marker to visit that ammo box.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, it's cool. Here we go. Look, only 4 more clips of wasted fire. He doesn't comment about you wasting ammo shooting up crates, but if you fire a couple of shots in the early game, he'll go through. Go on. So yeah, we have another 5 people show up, but they're really not all that powerful.
Don't know how important it is. Are the baddies always the same baddies, or are the names randomized each time?
So the names are randomized, and also the loadouts are randomized between a few different options. So we kind of wanted the player, we definitely wanted the player to see how effective energy weapons are against, there we go, look, ammo crates here if you need them. So somewhere we should have an objective marker, unless it's broken. Oh god. Where have I put it? Oh yeah, there. Oh no, hang on, no, that's the... they're not super effective, are they, at damaging you? We definitely wanted the player to clock the lesson of using your... Oh, there it is. Using your energy weapons to take out shields and using your kinetic weapons to take out their health.
Yes.
But interestingly, depending on what sort of roll of the dice you get, you might get a dropship land all 5 of the enemies with energy weapons, and then suddenly your shield gets shredded, but the rest of you, you know, your armor sort of keeps the rest of you safe.
Right.
So here we go. It's found this ammo crate. Hey, ammo crate, where have you gone? Well, that's embarrassing. Okay, I guess
there's no ammo crate there this time.
there's no ammo crate there this time. Something must have been changed about this. Never mind. Well, let's play with some grenades instead. The other trouble, of course, is I normally play on God mode, so I don't have to worry about all this.
I see. Well, now it's going to be a real test of your skills.
Yeah.
So, yes, energy for shields, kinetic for meat.
It's a pretty core lesson, right, for Elite.
What other lessons were important to get across during this firefight?
So I think a lot of what Dylan is saying, keeping an eye on your shield, keeping an eye on your energy as well. Using your radar as combat, because obviously we get this little cluster of folk over there. Using the cover, but it's all, you know, it's all fairly good stuff for most FPS games, right? It all fits a lot of games, but we obviously choose when we're making an FPS game. You know, we know there are some things that are going to be expected as standard, and there are some things that we're going to make our focus. So the shields mean that we have quite a big health bar.
Right.
So our combat is very tactical. So we know we need to draw the player's attention to shields, to tactics, to using cover, to using grenades, right? You know, using your various different bits of equipment. And it's a nice, gentle start to some of those things. Did we get him? No. Where is he? I'm also, sorry, really bad at talking and
No,
playing
I
my
was
game
actually
at the
about to
same
compliment
time.
you on how well you're doing because I'm distracting you at the same time.
Right, how are we doing? Defeat the hostile operatives. We've still got a couple left, I think. Interestingly, we drive a lot of our mission objectives through the same systems here. So essentially, the objectives you're getting in this scenario are sort of dummy versions of the objectives you might get in a mission.
Right.
So having since come off this to do a few missions like the cargo raid missions and things like that, I now see this and sort of think, oh, I could have done a little counter to keep count of how many guards are left. I could have set up this and set up that.
That's part of the designer's curse, isn't it? Just always wanting to iterate and improve.
Exactly. I think we could have. Yeah, I could spend a day every month on just like things I'd like to come back and revisit with this one. So that's it. I unfortunately, I think I completely missed one of my favourite lines, which is when there's one soldier left, Dylan will say, "There's only one left. Take your time."
Right.
And I think again that's quite an important lesson. Is like our combat is very rarely in a huge hurry. You know, we're not Call of Duty. We're not like sprinting from one encounter to the next. It's all right to like
Jump
stop
around, go back to cover, refill on.
Exactly.
Stuff,
Get your weapons loaded. Get your strategy together for how you're going to engage this last
definitely.
enemy.
Of course, something that a lot of games won't have is just your suit needing to be recharged as an extra thing to be aware of in addition to ammo.
Absolutely. And actually, this is the first point in this tutorial where players are probably switching on their shields and leaving them on. And the shields, you know, they can really drain things. So we definitely gave the player a loadout where their battery isn't going to be too big of a deal too soon. But it's important that that part of the tutorial that can teach them about using an energy cell or finding a power port to recharge at, that's all still running in the background, and it's just one extra element in that combat, right? And
Right.
it's, again, why it was quite important to make sure those combatants are not too tough.
Right, it's a lot of information to take on at once. Obviously, carefully laid out so that it's not overwhelming. But yes, a really nice introduction to the first on-foot combat.
So Dylan is telling me to hurry up because he's got a cold beer waiting back at port. I think, again, that was an idea that got into Ben's head, that Dylan just wants to get home. He's obviously got a few in the chiller. I always like to just take a moment to just walk around on the top of ships whenever I get the chance to. It's cool. It's cool that we can do this.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a thing lots of people have done for the first time immediately as soon as Odyssey came out.
Dylan, you survived the explosion. Thank goodness. So yeah, this was also really cool. Being able to customize a pilot and call in a very specific avatar to be
A character.
To be a character, right? He
Yeah.
is, he is a persistent character in the Elite universe now. He's on the wiki and everything. So that's pretty cool. He's I don't like doing stuff like this, but he's invulnerable.
Okay.
I always generally like it in games when everything is systemic, right? That's why the SRV is destructible, because if you choose to blow it up, that's your choice.
Sure, and then you have to face the consequence, which is a mission fail in
Exactly.
this case. Yeah.
And in some ways, the conclusion of that thought should be like, well, if they blow up the power distributor, they should just have to starve to death when they run out of oxygen. But no, I'm quite glad we had that, and then could cut to the fail state at least.
Sure.
Cool. So if we jump in, I get my little recharge. I really liked this when it got added to the game, because this came quite late. The sort of suit recharge by standing in the boarding zone.
Yeah, that's nice.
Something quite cool as well, though, is boarding into the passenger seat. I appreciate players could multi-crew into the passenger seat before, but I don't think you get to be in this side of the ship all that often.
Right.
Oh, so we've got
Yes, of
our...
course, physical multi-crew came with all of this as well for the first time.
Yeah.
As opposed to the telepresence, yeah.
Exactly, so it's another part of setting out our stall. We rotated that landing pad an awful lot, trying to decide if it was better to have the base in front of you, so as the player is leaving, they can kind of go
They can
like,
see it.
look at what I did,
Yeah.
or facing the way we ultimately went with, where you've got that impressive crater, and you've got the planet, and you've got the stars, and things like that. But I really love just looking sideways as you're coming out and seeing the
awesome.
planet and the atmosphere and everything whooshing away.
Yeah, that's great.
But now, hyperspace, we're going back to base, RTB. We've got to go back for a debrief and a cold beer. This is also, setting up this moment, we realised our taxis weren't doing the sort of zoom up to the star type
Right.
jumps. So that was quite good to catch that sooner rather than later.
Yeah, good thing to catch. But yeah, of course, this is the first time players will be taxied by an NPC.
Yeah.
Which I think fortunately sort of teased them up for getting used to the idea of Apex Interstellar intentionally, or otherwise it seeds that concept, which is great.
And as you come into land, he specifically calls out, you can call an Apex from the next place. So yeah, you're kind of out of the gameplay part of the tutorial now, right? This is just sit back and enjoy the ride. We tried to make sure this was as beautiful a tour as we could possibly manage.
You wanted some decompression time.
Bit of decompression time, a few stories from Dylan. There's a few on the cutting room floor, I hate to say. He had a really cool story about going and checking out a Thargoid imprint that he could tell, but we genuinely couldn't get it to fit in the Super Cruise time. And we were also thinking, like, is that really what we want to steer new players towards? If you're like, hey,
Right.
welcome to the game. Why not jump straight into our high-end, end-level content?
Sure.
Oh yeah, he gives you a bit of a rundown on the various major factions and things like that. But again, it's kind of nice there because it's reinforcing what you might have already learnt from the other tutorial, or what you might pick up when you go into the other tutorial. Chamberlain's Rest is the location we're going to be finishing at, and it's named after Greg Chamberlain, who was a member of the Elite dev team and sadly died a couple of years ago. And it was nice to just have an opportunity to memorialise him here.
Yeah, that's a lovely tribute.
Yeah, got a few cool planets to go past. That's quite nice. I think it's always just cool seeing them this close but that far away,
Yeah. And I remember first time I was playing Elite, it changes your sort of ideas of distance and time and everything, especially with Super Cruise travel. Yeah.
Right. Well, I was reading Ready Player One recently.
Okay.
The book, and in that, the universe they've got is like, oh, it's just millions of planets, and there's all sorts of different things on all the different planets. And okay, we don't have like planets from different IPs in here or anything like that, but like, it's us. It's me. We have this huge galaxy. We have all this space. It's even if we can only put Elite Dangerous content into it, it's still kind of cool that we just have this enormous, huge galaxy that is our play space.
It's the biggest playground ever. Yeah, amazing.
Here we go. So this was another atmospheric planet. We wanted atmospheres, we wanted rings, we wanted, again, on the day-night zone, so that you get that beautiful sort of sunlight through the horizon, through the atmosphere.
Yeah, it really makes a really grand impression. I guess if someone post-tutorial wants to like go land on a planet now immediately by themselves, it's right there.
Yeah, exactly. It all exists. It's real. It ends up being the starting location when you then proceed out of the tutorial into the main game.
Yeah.
We found these mountains, and they had this sort of natural sort of cove in them, or like a valley between the mountains. It just felt like a very natural place for a thing to be. So that was a really cool serendipitous find, and again a very Elite Dangerous thing, right? That you can just sort of look around and eventually you find the perfect spot. You don't have to craft this stuff. It's all out there. You just have to find it. I have one regret on this entire landing sequence, and that is that our AI have to land right way up and level.
Okay.
It's just part of, well, I'm sure, like, I don't believe there's anything Sarah Avery can't do, but to keep them stable and to keep them landing nicely, they flatten off. So you get this really cool look at Chamberlain's Rest now.
They have to pull up.
He has to pull up and land level, so you don't really get to see as much of the city as I would have liked.
Sure. Well, it looks great up until that point, to be fair. And actually, this is still kind of nice because you see the ring nicely and everything.
You do, and it's a very different type of atmosphere. This is an icy world, I think. So that was. Is that New to Odyssey? That was, right?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Don't know if it wasn't. We'll say it was.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, so you get to see a bit of an icy world as well. You get to see a different type of atmosphere, something looking a little bit more alien now. You've got this cool ring going over the top of the scene. So it feels like a very different world, I hope, to the last one. The city ports are just cool, right? I think we can all agree on that.
City ports are fantastic, yeah.
And it's quite a well-equipped settlement as well. We were able to define a few of the different things that this settlement can provide. So you know, whilst we're not giving you every ship in the game available to buy from this one, like if you come back here with the right money, or if you choose to spend your starting bucks wisely, you can set off on your adventure fairly well equipped.
Great. Okay, so this does work as a sort of starting base, at least for a little while people get to grips with things in the open game.
Yeah, exactly. Don't forget your limpets. Important advice.
You need to get that ingrained nice and early.
Yeah, exactly. There's many lessons to learn from this point on, right? But hopefully, players are now in a position where they have the knowledge, they have the equipment they need to at least attempt things. Cool. Yeah. So we're going to go into panels. So theoretically, this should all be stuff they've learned in the other tutorials, but we point them at the right panel. They get your first look at your equipment. Although I think I've changed them into a more basic suit at this point. And then this is my favourite part. This is the race to the lifts, because the tutorial ends once you step out here, but it gives you a short window of time before it fades to black.
Okay.
So, if you're quick, you can get to the lifts.
All right,
Ready?
let's go.
Go. Come on, down the ladder. Woo. There's no jumping. Normally I would jump and boost.
I mean, you've been pretty efficient.
Come on.
Basically a straight line. Made it, for sure. You're in.
We're in.
Nice one.
Huge success. Thank you. Well, I hope that was, a bit of a glance behind the scenes.
That was super insightful. Thank you for all of that. Really got across to me, and obviously I had some understanding before, but didn't really fully appreciate just how handcrafted the tutorial was. Every element thought out, and the player experience really kept at the forefront of every decision.
I think the interesting thing with it is every settlement has had that layer of craft put over it, but from that perspective, that has to be crafted with an angle that the player could be doing any activity, whatever they've chosen to go to that place to do.
Yes.
I think the nice thing about this one is we get to decide what the player does. So that's quite nice to be able to to present such a curated experience there. But I'm really proud of our level design team and all the work that they put in to get those settlements so that they have that same level of flow and they have that, hopefully, that same level of like things to discover and just a natural flow through depending on whatever your activity is going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Until the guard decides to scan you, in which case the flow stops.
Yes.
Yeah, the fun police are here.
Excellent. So, again, thank you very much for talking us through that.
That's fine.
Much appreciated. If we've got a little bit of time, there was a little extra thing that I wanted to fit into today's show because you told me about it and I've been intrigued. So, if you're still up for it,
Sure.
could you tell us a little bit about a project called Top Down Elite?
Sure. So a couple of years ago, we had a partnership with a local community centre and another Cambridge tech company. And we provided a load of Raspberry Pis and sort of laptop-y screen and keyboard type things so that they could be plugged into. And we started doing lessons on game development in Scratch. And we followed a couple of Scratch's own homemade tutorials and things like that and went through those with the kids. And we started doing a few different various bits and bobs that we could do online until we eventually decided we would have a go at making a tutorial of our own. And so we did a few. We did one that was, we make a game about dinosaurs, right?
We do.
We did one that was one of those. That was Laura Massey's work, and that was amazing. And this is one that I put together, which is called Top Down Elite. So a couple of years ago, probably a few years ago now, actually, people might remember someone made these beautiful pixel art ships, pixel art top-down versions of our ships, and they're lovely. They're just really nice. And they stayed in my head. And when I started thinking about what should we make as a tutorial, what can we make that's quite Elite Dangerous-y, I thought, well, this is a big free resource. I did try and credit the creator and link to his Reddit post, but they've unfortunately deleted their account, so there's no account name to credit it. But if you're watching, thanks. They're really cool. But it gave me the idea that we've got these beautiful top-down ships, so maybe we can create a tutorial to make a sort of classic side-scrolling shooter. So to make it a convenient tutorial for an 8-year-old to do, we essentially gathered and pre-cut all the assets together. So if you could click See Inside on the top right there, you can sort of see that this starter tutorial has none of the code done, but it has all of the different ships that you'll need to do it, pre-trimmed and ready to be used as sprites, ready to be sort of dragged into your scene, laser shots and a few different logic objects. And the top 3 ones are some background images. So I essentially got in my ship and then I panned round in a circle and I took a screenshot every third of the way round.
Okay.
So you've got 3 joined together pieces of Starfield that create the background for the game. So it's a genuine Elite background,
right.
Which is
Very
kind of
nice.
cool. But I think the focus I wanted to do when writing the tutorial is to sort of point out all the tricks and things, all the smoke and mirrors that we do as game developers to give you the impression that you're in an infinite galaxy of 400 billion stars. I mean, you are in an infinite galaxy of 400 million stars, 400 billion stars, obviously. But we do still use smoke and mirrors everywhere. So it was really nice to sort of show people the ships don't actually move. don't
Right.
tell anyone, right? The background moves. And then running them through how to set up something like that. Or, it still bothers me when I think about like picking up the red key in a game, that when I go up to the red key object and I press X or E or whatever to pick it up,
Yeah.
it doesn't go into my character's pocket, it just disappears, right? And
Right.
then somewhere a variable gets set to 1 instead of 0. And it, still bothers me. Still bothers me to think that it's not really real, because it all feels so real. So teaching these kids those things so they can get their head into that space early, I think is one of the it's one of the core skills of game development, right? Is you have to use the tools that are available to you, and we call it smoke and mirrors because it is almost like stage performance. It's almost like the magicians used to do, where you just distract, get someone to look over there while we quickly unload the level that's over here.
You know what kind of effect you want to create or the experience you want to create, but it's not necessary if you can create a shortcut that saves processing power or whatever it is.
Well, or sometimes it's not even about saving a bit of processing power. It's the only way to make something work is to make it a trick. I think one of my favourite stories about stuff like this is there's like a cable car in Fallout 3.
Yes,
you've heard this one. It's a hat because they couldn't make a static object that moved. The only things that move in their game are characters. So in order to make this cable car run along the track, they have a person underneath who is wearing a hat, which is the shape of a cable car, and he runs the distance of the track. Yeah. It's like, but who knew? Nobody knew until they told us.
Fallout 3 is notorious for this. It's got a couple of those. There's also the way they've done cutscenes. I don't want to go too off track, but for anyone who's interested in this kind of stuff, there's some great YouTube videos about it. Do you know about their cutscene setup? So whenever a cutscene plays, what they'll do is they'll teleport the player character into a room with no windows or doors, and have them look at one of the walls onto which they project the video of the cutscene that they want them to view. And even better is if there's any narration for those scenes, behind the wall that the player is looking at is an actual NPC, because that's where the sound has to come from, who's called the narrator, which is obviously Ron Perlman in Fallout 3, and he just says the lines of the cutscene.
Perfect. That's wonderful. That's so like the, what's the philosophy thing about the cave, where people are watching shadows on the wall, right? You're like, that's the world, that's the whole universe. Don't turn around.
I think, yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's great.
So, yeah, okay, so you'd encourage anyone with maybe a child or someone that
I think
younger
children or grown-ups. I had a great time.
Grown-ups, yeah.
I had a great time setting this up. And this, I mean, what we got running here, if we go, if you go back on your browser thing.
You'd have to talk me through it because I'm not very familiar with Scratch.
But what we set up here is a sort of basic flow, right? This was, I think we completed this over 2 or 3 sessions with the kids, spending about an hour at a time. And what you get is a fairly basic shooter, but there's lots of opportunity to then develop it further, and we gave the kids, little Frontier branded USB drives to take their project home on, and I'm hopeful. I have no idea what they've done since, but I'm hopeful. Some of them at least have sort of loaded it up and added another, added an extra ship or a new behavior or whatever. But there's so much you can do with Scratch. There are limits, but without having to put too much work in and without having to learn C++, you can make really cool things. If you, on the instructions part of it, one of these things has a link to the sort of completed example. Yeah, there we go. If we click that one, and then this is essentially one where I finished it. So if you click...
Okay, so here's one you made earlier.
Here's one I made earlier. If you click full screen first, probably, because it'll look a bit better. Top right. That guy. And then green flag, and then you need up, down, and space.
Up, down, and space.
Yep.
All right, I can do that, he says.
Oh, you can just about see the join there. So it's basic, but functional. I actually went back to this myself as well and added a few things like ever-increasing ship speed and things like that. So the background gets faster and the number of ships that spawn increase and things like that. But
so there is a difficulty.
There is a difficulty curve, but it's I added a bit more sophistication to that just on my sort of personal attempt and things like that.
Sure.
But yeah, it's really cool. I think to be able to sort of pull in elements from something like our big cool space game IP. And then if you let this guy fly, he'll do. Let him go around because he does a cool maneuver when he gets to halfway.
I see.
He does a swoop back.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, they're starting to take a few hits now as well. Okay.
So there you go. You get an ever-increasing challenge, but it's expandable. I think that's the nice thing about it is you can keep on playing with this and you can keep on tinkering and adding mechanics. You could probably put a better explosion in. I'm willing to admit.
I also love that you're trolling me. It says only 24 kills, which feels terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'll come clean with you. It always says only. Sorry.
Cool. No, that's great. So if anyone actually wanted to give this a go themselves or share it with someone that they know, we'll add a link to this. So !scratch for anyone who's watching on Twitch
Cool.
will take you straight to this.
And there's a Google Docs document as well that is the actual step-by-step tutorial. So you don't just have to jump into Scratch and sort of try and guess it. You can follow it step by step. But again, I would invite and encourage anyone who does decide to do that to tinker around with it. You know, have some fun with it. Make it weird.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. That's really
That's
cool.
all right. No, it was a hoot. It was fun to set up.
Excellent. So I think we're just about on time to wrap things up. Is there anything else that you wanted to share or say before we part ways?
I don't know. It's been really lovely. Watch the skies, because something's up there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's been lovely having you on, as always, an absolute pleasure. And thank you for talking us through all of those insightful points about the tutorial that perhaps people weren't aware of before. I certainly gained a newfound appreciation for it, so thank you.
No, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, always lovely to have you on. So yes, thank you once again, Tom, and we're going to go back to the main studio. Hopefully you all enjoyed that interview, and we'll see you in a moment. Welcome back, everyone. We hope you enjoyed that interview. I certainly had a great time speaking to Tom.
He's like, you can just watch Tom talk forever. Also, shorts in this weather. Bold move. Bold move, my man. But what a nice guy.
Yeah, really nice guy. Super easy to interview and really insightful. I learned a lot about the tutorial and design in general. So always an absolute pleasure. Thank you again, Tom, for coming on.
Yes, thank you, Tom. I know your time is precious. And I know Tom's keen to do one of these live, but just the way schedules line up, we can't do it all the time. So we were trying to get you more and more behind the scenes stuff, which I hope you enjoyed. And thank you, Bruce, for booking it, planning it, doing interview, etc., etc. It's really cool. There we go. That was nice. Quite a long interview as well. Hour and something.
Yeah, hour and 10, hour and 15, something like that. Always nice to have a great long chat with the devs, and we know you lot enjoy it. So as long as you continue to enjoy that kind of thing, we'll keep getting more guests on.
Yes. Right. Okay. Well, we're at the end of this particular show. The next show is. Will it be the?
It will be on the 20th.
Will it be the?
Yes.
So next show is going to be our Halloween special.
It will.
So. Make sure it's going to be on the 20th. It will be. We're back on a Thursday on a usual slot. We've got some surprises for you. We've got some cool stuff to give away. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. I hope you join us there. I've enjoyed today. It's been good to be back with you. I'm fairly certain would be you and I again, I thought, on the 20th. Paulius
Yes,
Maximus
most
Decimus
likely.
Meridius is still away, isn't he? So it'd be me and you, and maybe we can grab Sally, bring Sally in.
Yeah, if Sally's up for it, of course, we'll all go on, and maybe even some extra guests as well. We'll see what happens. But yes, certainly there'll be the usual Twitch drops plus some additional prizes and extra stuff. So lots to tune in for.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I missed the last Halloween stream. You guys did Pictionary. I can't remember where I was. I was somewhere else. I wasn't about. But I will be here for this one. So, as always, thank you very much for joining us this week on our Super Cruise, not Super Cruise News, our Frameshift Live show, and we'll be back on the 20th.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks again for watching, and thank you again for the interview, Tom. Thank you, Arthur, for co-hosting. Big shout out to our moderators as well for helping out in chat, as always, much appreciated. Thanks to our producer Adam behind the scenes, always making sure.
Are we going to raid?
We are going to raid.
We're pretty raid. Stick around for a raid.
Thank you to producer Adam, who is making things run like clockwork behind the scenes, unlike my boisterous co-host who likes to interrupt. And yes, if you want more Elite content, stay tuned. We'll be raiding one of our wonderful content creators.
Are we going to raid?
Any second now. 07. See you next time.
Bye-bye.